Hey guys, Pogo here, and welcome to the next episode of JavaScript and jQuery. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the event system that exists in JavaScript that is enhanced with jQuery, and we're going to take a look at a couple of basic events. Now, there are, of course, a ton of events, and we're not going to get to all of them in this video, but this is going to give you a general idea of how events work, and then some of the most important events that you would want to know. And this is obviously something very important when you're working with a dynamic page, or a page where the value could change. These events allow you to manipulate the page based on certain things that happen. And we're going to take a look and see how that works. So first of all, I have this demo page set up, a button that says click me, which does nothing, and then just a standard text field where you can type. Standard text field where you can type, and that's about all it does right now. As you can see, we just have these two inputs. One of them is a button, one of them is a text, and they both have IDs. I have, of course, my jQuery script, and then I have this script right here, and these are the four that we're going to get to. The click, change, key press, and focus, and those are some of the most important events. So before we begin, let's go ahead and do what we always do. Our document.ready. Remember, sorry about that. Remember, we always want to do this to make sure that the page is ready for us before we start manipulating it through JavaScript. So we do want to have the document.ready. And this is almost like an event. You're saying when the document is ready, and then you have this handler, this anonymous function. So that is similar to an event, but we're going to look a little bit more in depth at events. So the first one is going to be the click event, which we're going to associate with the button. The click event could be used with any type of input. It could be used with a text area. It could be used with a select. It's a bit limited, but for form-based elements, you can use click, and that's really just when the item is clicked. So to do that, we're gonna use this button that says click me, and we're gonna have it pop up a message. We'll have it alert a message saying, you clicked me, or something like that. Alright, so to do that, we first want to select it, and we're going to use the ID of click me. And then there is a click function. Now, if you remember from the last video, which I have open right here, you'll see that we have right here, we have on click equals button click. So you can specify it as an attribute to the input. You can say that on click it calls this button click function. That is one way to do it, but there are other ways, and we're going to show the other way right now. And then there's some events like change, key press, and focus where you really can't do that, or it would just make more sense to do it in code. So first of all, it's important to note that all of these functions, the click, change, key press, and focus, actually serve two purposes. If you call them with no parameters, just like this, it will actually perform the click event. So if I call .click and I don't pass any parameter to it, it will actually simulate clicking the button, and I'll show that in a second. But if I do pass it a function, that function right there, is called the handler. And what I'm saying is that whenever the button is clicked, I want to call the handler for the click event. So inside of here, I'm just going to go ahead and write alert, you clicked me. So let's go ahead and reload the page, and if I click on it, you'll see it says you clicked me. It'll pop that up. I use the JavaScript function or macro or whatever called alert, and I told it to alert you clicked me, which it clearly did. What I was just saying before, let's take a look. If I do click me.click with no parameters at all, and I reload, you'll see it says you clicked me, because what happens is when you do the click with no parameters, it will actually call the click event. So it'll go here and it'll call this function that will alert you clicked me. So if you want to automatically click something, then you would use the click function. So I'm going to comment that out, and I'm going to just comment these. Now I'm going to say function for, set the handler for the click event. And then this is going to say manually call the click event. So you can, call the click event and it'll basically force click it for you. It'll simulate as if the user clicked it. So next we'll go ahead and look at change. And again, this one is similar to click. It applies to input elements, text areas, and selects. We're going to use this with our text input. And if you can't guess, change is called whenever the value of something is changed. So let's take a look at that. And I'm going to use the ID of text, which I have right there, and change. Now again, change with no parameter would call the change event, but I'm going to use a function, and I'm just going to alert changed. So let's reload, and okay. This changed is called when I press the enter key. So, hello, my name is Pogo, and then I press the enter key, and it will say changed. So that would be good for, you want to have someone, you want to listen for every time someone hits the enter key. Maybe if they're making multiple lines in a text area, or when they're finished, you hit the enter key, and then it would change. But of course that only works, I'm hitting it now, it only works if the value has been changed. Okay. So that is a good example of that, but it's not completely, it's not greatly useful. It's, you can use it to see when the value is changed, but not great. This is really meant for select elements. For if you have a list of elements that you can select, that's really when you would use this. So we're gonna say set the handler for the change event. And then again, I could call it with no parameters, but that's not a great example for a text field. A better one would be key press. So key press, of course, would work when a key is pressed, and that's going to be a little bit more useful. So we'll go ahead and use key press, and again, with no parameters, it would just call key press, and we'll have it alert pressed key. Oops. And I'll just leave that other thing uncommented, but let's reload this, and you'll see that every time I do it, it calls pressed key, and it actually calls it before the key is put in. So you have the ability to cancel this event from happening. So, they go there, and then if they type some key that you don't want them to, you could just stop it before it happens. So, again, that's a little bit annoying that it shows it every time, but we can make this a little bit better. You can actually include in the function a parameter, which we'll call event, and this will give you information about the event. And I believe if I just alert the event, it won't be too helpful. Yeah, but one important thing is there's a field in there called which. So if I reload, you'll see it gives me some kind of a number. 113, 119, 115, 99, and for enter it's 13. So this is the key code, and if you have a table of key codes, then you can use this. So this is just alerting the keys, but for example, I could say if event.which is equal to, let's say that I want it to be when they type in a Z, which is 122. So if the event.which is equal to 122, then I'll alert ZZZ. So let's reload this, and I can type whatever I want, but as soon as I type in a Z, it will say ZZZ. So that is a good example of why something like that might be useful. You want to listen for something in particular, like you could do the enter, which is 13, and then you could say when the enter key is pressed, you want to do something in particular. But if you want to listen for key presses, then that's not a bad idea. And finally, we will take a look at the focus. We're going to do this with text again. Focus is more useful when it's called with no parameters. So you'll see, okay. So if I reload this, you'll see that it starts out with the text as being focused. So let's comment that out, and I reload, and it's not focused. It doesn't have that blue border, and I can't type into it. But if I take that out and I reload, then the page starts out with the text already being focused, so I can start typing. And that is something that could be really helpful. And what we could do is, let's say that when the text is focused, so first of all, you can manually call it like that, which is really useful. But then we could do a function, and we could say, we'll just call clickme.click. So what that'll do is whenever I focus the text field, it'll call the clickme.click. And okay, that's happening a lot. I suppose that's because, yeah, that's not a good combination. That's a bad combination. But, you know, that would be a good example of something that could be useful. It's more useful, again, without any parameters. So we'll say manually focus the element. So that's just a quick look at the event system, a couple of the more important ones. The ones that you would really find yourself using a lot would be the click, of course, if you want to control button clicks with your code. And that's especially useful when you're doing Ajax stuff, which we're going to do not next, but soon. When you're doing Ajax stuff, then that would be useful. And then focus is also nice if you want to, you know, automatically focus. If you have a login form, you can focus the username field to make it really, you know, make it just a little bit simpler for the user to log in, whatever. So, again, important to note those, and then also that you can call these with no parameters, and that will, you know, forcibly call the event. Or if you give it a function as a parameter, then it will use that function. You can also give it a string. You can give it the name of a function. So if I defined a function called do something, I could pass it, you know, the word do something, and then it would use that function. But anyways, that's why you would want to use that. So as always, subscribe if you want to see more. Comment with what you want to learn. If you like this video, click the like button, and I'll see you guys soon with some more coding. Bye for now.